move into the next year, we decided to start today's program off with something exciting, something a little sexy that I think some of you all will appreciate and like. And we're going to get right to the party right after this. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I have myself a wonderful new video stream that I like to play. I'm hoping to add that to everything we do from here on out. I love that product. It was put together by a good friend of mine, and I will put his information in the chat for you as we continue to move through our program. Today, the program is really special. It's really special because of the time we are in our country, the time we are in our year, and what has literally happened a little bit in my personal and private life. So I'm going to share a little bit of that information with you. Obviously, for those of you who are paying attention, we are in a crisis in our country when it comes to dealing with the multiple different economic and social and critical issues, political issues that are going on all over the place. And we just came off the inauguration of our new president, Joe Biden. Is a new president. Kamala Harris is our new vice president, and we're so excited to see what that particular bench strength is going to bring to our nation as we move forward, specifically in, and I'm interested specifically in what's going on and what's going to happen with small women-owned and minority-owned businesses. And, you know, a particular group of those businesses are solopreneurs, they're micropreneurs, they're solo producers. They're sitting at home, they're by themselves, they're trying to figure out how to keep their businesses afloat and how to move forward. And anything I've dedicated my life and my business to supporting those individuals, and anything we can do to help them to create a better opportunity for themselves or better opportunities with each other is what we're always going to be about. We love that. And in fact, when we created this program, Coffee, Tea, You and Me, you know, we were trying to serve so many different entities in regards to, you know, the many different roles that I played in the community. I was the chairman of the Centerville Community Foundation. I was actually on the board for the Small Business Commission for the County of Fairfax, and I was sitting on several other boards and commissions, and it really became difficult for me to get anything done outside of that work. I had sort of over volunteered, so to speak, and so I needed to sit down once a week and just be an open vessel for people to ask questions and talk to and respond to and communicate with. And when I started Coffee, Tea, You and Me, I never knew that it would take off, and now it's become, because of COVID-19, it's become a weekly broadcast that I broadcast both on YouTube and on Facebook. It's a simulcast, right? That's what they call it, right? So I'm learning the new technologies. I'm getting up on, you know, how to use these tools in social media and how to help people progress through these tools. Today's topic for our workshop, or discussion, so I should say, is going to be hopefully really interactive and give us all an opportunity to participate and think through some of the very lessons that there are to learn when it comes to one word. That word is fortitude. Fortitude is a very interesting idea and concept. And let me tell you how I came to even deciding I was going to do at least one segment on this thing. I watched many of the African American, what we call Divine Nine, Greek letter organizations celebrate their anniversaries. Usually in the month of January, especially those that were founded by Howard, there's a proliferation of organizations that were all founded and incorporated around about the same time of the year. And so they have the same celebrations nationwide. And because of COVID-19, we're able to offer, a lot of us are doing broadcasts and simulcasts, presentations and celebrations of those organizations. My organization, Phi Beta Sigma, Go Mob, is in the house, right? We celebrated our 108th anniversary, and I believe that many of the other organizations, celebrated other letters of organizations and all that kind of stuff. They celebrated other numbers, but I was inspired by what I saw. My lovely wife is a Delta. What I saw in the Delta celebration was a commitment to a word that's very specific to this particular group of women. And let me explain to you at least what I know about this particular group of women. As an organization, there is no other organization that is as large as they are, and that has from its inception the commitment to community service over all things. I have to say that there are lots of fraternities and sororities that exist in the world, and some of them were started just for social reasons or just for personal reasons to pick each other up and to celebrate each other. This one, however, was born to honor the communities and to make sure that the African American female presence within all the communities all throughout the world were recognized, supported, and dealt with appropriately, right? And so I think the Deltas have been a beacon of that opportunity since their inception, and that word fortitude means a lot to them. So I decided, in celebration of all of the brothers and sisters within the National Panel and the Council, to focus on that example that they shared with us and to talk about what fortitude is and what fortitude means and how we should be thinking to use strength and character in moving forward with whatever we face, whether we're facing something that's political or social, or we're facing economic issues. We should be dealing with ideas that relate to fortitude, which we're going to share a little bit later on today. For those of you all who are logging on and registering or coming in or seeing this for the first time, either you're watching it live on YouTube or you're watching it on Facebook, do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share this with your friends and family or anybody else that you want to share it with, because it becomes a great, important opportunity to, for me personally, to get the message out to other small businesses and other small business leaders, but also to help start a community and a conversation around the key issues that we talk about. And if, by the way, there is an issue or a thought or a comment or something that you want to share, go ahead and put it in the comment box. If I can recognize you, give you a little shout out, I definitely will do so. Because I think it's important that all ideas and everything that we do, we figure out how to share. And there's some virtues that we're going to discuss in today's discussion that I think you will hopefully embrace and understand why I am saying and doing the things that I am saying and doing. So let's talk about this concept of fortitude. When you think about it, what does it mean? What do you do with it? How do you use it? How does it impact your life? So the title of the working title, I should say, of the research project that I'm working on, that's going to then turn into a training opportunity. So I will create tons of training from just the research that I'm doing on fortitude right now. And it is fortitude, developing courage in pain or adversity. Developing courage in pain or adversity. When we look at the word fortitude, that's exactly what it means. By definition, it's maintaining and creating and using courage in pain and through adversity. So what does that really say about fortitude, right? It's something, it's a way of being. It's a way of looking at things. It's a way of progressing. It's a way of moving through. It's a form of resilience, so to speak, and it speaks to the truth of the human condition. Because either we have what it takes to be resilient, We have what it takes to stand up in the face and adequately deal with the pains that we're dealing with, the adversities that we're dealing with, the sorrow, the misery sometimes, the overwhelming pressure, the stress. There are things that we're dealing with now that we've never had to deal with before. And what is required to get to the other side of that is that we hold on a little while longer, as we develop the strength that we need to develop to move forward. If we find a way to steel ourselves, to create courage, and to use that courage as a touchstone to move ourselves forward. We have to know how to do this. We have to be able to increase our overall strength, our determination, and yes, our grit. All of this has to happen if we are to be fortitudinous in the things that we do. And there's some good news in this thought process, because we've had to be and had to show fortitude in some aspect of our lives in the past. We've had to deal with some pain and some suffering and some anguish in the past. We can call upon that reality and the grace of those moments, and that we've been able to stand up and move through those moments as a bit of a litmus test as to the possibilities of us doing it again and again and again and again. It becomes a strength building process. Anytime we're going to do anything, anytime we're going to move through anything, anytime we're going to face anything, anytime we're going to overcome a challenge or deal with an obstacle, our brains rely quite naturally on habits that we have built in the past. And sometimes, in order to move through new challenges or challenges we haven't had before, we have very little history or have an opportunity to have dealt with, we can't recall the information, or we can't think through the process, or we don't have people to remind us that we've done this before, or we've overcome something before. It becomes very, very difficult to face and overcome the challenge. And I think it's important to know that when we are talking about fortitude, that ability begins in a very small way, but the more we practice it and the more we behave with it, the more we use it, the more it becomes who we are, the more it becomes what we do. Like everything else, if you engage in rehearsal, practice, if you start to talk about it and share it, whatever you're trying to change or do with other people, if you begin to the process of coordinating or growing with other people as you move forward, I think that you're going to be developing the tools, the skills, the muscles of fortitude, right? And these are very important things to do, very important skills to get, because, like I said earlier, you have a natural fondness or a natural predilection to move in a certain area in your life, no matter what it is, no matter what you're trying to overcome, no matter what challenges are in front of you. You have a natural idea or concept. And I shared those with you all in an earlier broadcast when I was talking about the 4 elements of my process, which is the 90-day power play process, or the trademark name for it is the Vision Quest 90 process. And the Vision Quest 90 process shows that people have 4 key areas of talent that they tend to lean on when it comes to moving themselves forward. Some people are very visionary, and they use big, long-term strategic ideology and concept and language, and that helps them to do what needs to be done to move themselves forward. Some people are very strategic in that they are goal oriented and they're very, very focused on achieving milestones that they could prove. And that's a very, very important aspect for them in terms of moving forward. Some people are very emotional in that they are purpose driven, right? And they are purpose driven on the deepest, their core values, their principles, the things that matter to them the most are what they stick to. No matter what, everything gets oriented around their purpose. And then some people are very, very task oriented. They love to create checklists. They love to create tasks for the week, for the month, and then they love to just go through them. Very, very focused in the granular effort of getting whatever they need to get done, whether it's a project or a process or whatever they want to do. It's got to be broken down into the individual task, and they love the march forward, the step-by-step process of moving themselves forward. Now, we all have, to some degree, a leaning in one of these four directions or another. But what's true is the people, the leaders, the organizations that have maximized all four categories are usually the happiest and, I dare say, the most successful. And so the Vision Quest 90 process is really all about helping people figure out, number one, what their leaning is. What is their natural thought process when it comes to moving something forward or getting something done? And let's use that as a strength, all right, to bolster the other three areas that you need to move forward. So if anybody's interested in engaging in the Vision Quest 90 process, want to talk to me about how I do that, feel free to give me a call. You should see my number scrolling across the screen. You should see my contact information. And so it should be fairly easy to catch me. If you have any ideas or thoughts about any of that, feel free to give me a call. But why am I talking about this in regards to Fortitude? Fortitude is the same thing, it's the same way. We have key areas of strength and key areas of weaknesses. And there's nothing wrong with weaknesses, especially when you can acknowledge that you have them, but you don't let them stop you from pressing on. I think a lot of times people want to deny their weakness. That's not showing fortitude. Right? That's denial. That's what that is. And it's a whole different idea and concept. And you don't want to be in a situation where you're in denial of the truth and you're trying to build something lasting that's going to move something forward, an agenda forward, an idea, concept, a program, or project. You can't do it without dealing with the truth. So what I like about what's going on right now, I see going on right now, and I almost didn't make this broadcast because I was so stuck and glued to CNN, is the desire and the drive for our current U.S. administration to seek scientific evidence, to seek coalition and of leaders who are intelligent in terms of how they approach the facts of a situation before they make a policy decision or a drive or a decision. So as a leader, our current president, President Biden, most likely would go, okay, let me, before I say I'm going to do blah, 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 or I want to go blah, 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 I want to move in this direction, let me look at what the experts are talking about. Let me look at what the people who are leaders in this community are talking about. Let me figure out, what the truth is, so that when I make moves, whether they're executive moves or legislative suggestions or whatever, I have the backing of the real data, the real analysis, the real information that I can trust to build on whatever strategy or technique we're going to go from. Now, I'm going to tell you, this is a big thing for what our topic is today, because we're talking about fortitude. Fortitude itself does not require that you're knowledgeable. It does not require that you're an expert. It does not require that you even have truthful information that you're engaging in order to move yourself forward. It's not a requirement of fortitude, but it is a requirement of knowing that you know what you know, and you can prove that you know what you know, and you can come through with a level of purpose and direction that's based on something that is not just of your own suggestion, but may come from some other credible sources that will back you up when it's all said and done. And so there's a difference, and I want you to think about this as you move forward. You're either reacting to something that's happening, or you are responding to something you want to have happen. And either way, you could be showing fortitude, but there is a level of competence, there's a level of character, there's a level of integrity that comes with every level of engagement and fortitude, no matter how you slice it. So let's just think about that. Got some people that have been coming in and out of the audience, and I appreciate it. If you come into the studio and you're here, I would love it if you would announce yourself in the comment section. If you're coming into the studio, just definitely leave us a comment. Let us know who you are and where you're from, either on the Facebook side or the YouTube side, because I want to recognize you, want to honor you, want to give you a shout out, and I want you to think about and ask you all to do this yourselves. When you think about what fortitude means to you and how it is largely expressed, what are the benefits of it to you? When you know that you are dealing with something, you know that you're dealing with some pain, you know that you're dealing with some stress, you know that you're dealing with some anguish, all right, some form of misery or sorrow. How does it feel then to face that issue and move through it? And how does it feel to you? I'll tell you how it feels to me. You know, to me, if I'm not overcoming something, if I'm not dealing with something challenging, I'm bored. That's first of all. If I'm not stretching, if I'm not seeing myself grow in something, then I feel like I'm standing still. And I don't like that. I like to keep it moving. I like to keep things moving forward. I like to, you know, like as I don't know what that, maybe somebody in the audience can help me, that there was a character in some movie, my child, I used to watch with my child, and the character would say, just keep it moving. Well, I like to move it. If you know the name of that character, do me a favor, put it in the chat, because I wanna follow through with that and maybe do something about that, because it's keeping it moving is a real serious value proposition for me. And anything that helps, that makes me not move forward, I get a little bit upset about that, a little bit frustrated by that, because I don't like to stop. I like to move forward. I like to grow. I like to know that I'm growing. If I'm not reading something or attending something or engaging in some way, shape, or form, you know, that's not me. If you see me in a room, if you see me in an organization, you see me participating in anything, I'm all in. I'm fully committed. I am trying to do everything I can to move forward the agenda of the organization, but also my agenda within the organization. I like to be on purpose. I like to be forward thinking. And that anything that gets in my way of doing that is a problem. And if I can't overcome that problem, I don't feel like, or I refuse to, or something happens that makes me not able to, then I don't feel like I'm acting in fortitude. Because in fortitude, you got to keep going. You got to keep moving forward. It's a very, very important aspect of fortitude. Now, in my research, I came upon something that I think is super exciting that I'm going to share with you guys, if I can. I'm hoping I can find it again. There it is. Okay. This is a questionnaire. And I'm going to go ahead and post it in the chat, right? But it's a questionnaire about resilience. What we all need to do to become more resilient is illustrated in this website that I'm posting right now. And just for, you know, giggles, so that you know, the website seems to come from a group. Oh, wait a minute, I'm not in the right spot right now. I thought I had the website up, but I don't. This is a resilience test. Let me see if you guys can get to that resilience test. I think I just posted it in the notes. I think I gave you the right link. Let's see if it's there. In any case, then there's an illustration to what you should do as you click through and answer the questions of the text. And it will give you back some answers, where you can begin to explore the 4 aspects of you, right? And how you can be more resilient in those 4 aspects, right? So every person has a heart, mind, body, spirit. Okay? And those things, if you try to ignore one of them, the thing that you're ignoring is going to drag you down, specifically if you haven't figured out a way to collaborate with somebody else to keep you whole in that area. And if you're able to access the website that I shared with you guys, you're going to see a couple of circles, right? You're going to see the circles inside the larger circle, and the inside circles have the integration and the interplay and the commingling of these 2 ideas: your body, your mind, your heart, and your spirit. Well, on the exterior of the circle, the secondary circle, you see at least 3 aspects of each one of those characteristics that if you would work on, it would help you become more resilient. Now, I'll tell you my favorite. My favorite is the spirit category. My favorite is the spirit category because I am that kind of person. I'm very plugged into my inner thoughts. I'm very plugged into how I connect with others. I'm very plugged into what I believe I'm here to do and my destiny, so to speak. And I think that helps me sort of overcome a lot of different adversity that I will come up. In fact, studies show people who have spiritual resiliency, right? They have fortitude in the area of in the spiritual category of their lives, right? They tend to be happier and more satisfied than people who do not, by a large measure. I don't know the exact number, but there's something to the thought that maybe the key to your happiness has more to do with how you think you're present and generous and purposeful when it comes to your existence here on the planet, in the universe. How do you make those connections between you and the rest of the universe? And I think you do it through spirit. And I think spirit is a significant category of your life that you cannot do without. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But it's also body, it's also mind, it's also heart. Along with spirit and heart, I will tell you those tend to be some of my strongest categories. In fact, my strongest categories are the mind category, the heart category, the spirit category. What's yours? You might not know until you take the test. So take the test. And then if you want to share what your strongest categories are and why you think those are your strongest categories, please do that in the chat. If you want to share what your weakest categories are, why you think those are your weakest categories, and maybe you want to do something different about it, put that in the chat too as well. Let's see if we can get a community going that's talking about these things. It's very, very important, right? My weakest area is my body. My weakest area by far is my body. I'm not very good with sleep and recovery and taking a break and being mindful and I'm not good at that. I'm not good at nutrition. I don't plan out my meals. I don't count my calories. I don't structure them so that in a way that makes a whole lot of sense all the time. And I'm not good with movement. I'm not in constant movement, which means that, if you don't do this well and you don't add some resistance even in your movement, then you're giving up the benefits that could come from that level of energy you put in and that level of energy you maintain. And so you lose flexibility, you lose strength, you diminish your energy for other things that you have to do, and it drags on the other parts of your world. When you're not good in that physical sense, when you're not strong in that physical sense, it does affect your mind, it does affect your spirit, it does affect your heart, right? Let's flip to heart for a second. When you think about what that means, the heart part of our world, the four aspects, the four benefits or aspects of our character, right? Number one, the heart. Heart is where your emotions are, and they're huge drivers to your behavior. They're huge opportunities for you to connect with yourself as well as others and understand how you tick, what makes you satisfied, what gives you joy, and how can you manufacture it? Can you create it from something intrinsic versus something that's external or extrinsic, right? How do you find that source for your emotions? How do you find that opportunity to stay as positive as you possibly can, while still facing the realities, right? There's going to be fear, there's going to be doubt, there's going to be hesitation. Okay, that's all on that scared side of things, right? On that side of things that makes you less than courageous. But how do you do it? How do you face, accept it for what it is, and still move through it, right? And the relationships are another part of the heart muscle. You know, how do you strengthen your relationships with yourself, relationships with others, anywhere you're interconnected with the universe? How do you strengthen those relationships, those bonds? And what are you doing actively on purpose to increase and strengthen those on a regular, consistent basis? Because, you know, like I said, with all things, if you're not practicing, if you're not rehearsing, if you're not finding ways to move forward, I think you're losing opportunities. There's also vulnerability. How authentic are you, truthfully? How good are you at sharing your common humanity with others, specifically others who you need to have them trust you and you need to have them support you? Because the more authentic you are, the more, so dare I say, keep it real you are. You know, the more genuine you are in how you share who you are and what you do and everything with others. What you're going to find is the more people can accept you, the more people can work with you, sometimes even tolerate you to a level that is going to be conducive to not just your growth and development, but their growth and development. Because what happens when somebody is working with you and sharing with you is they get to become generous providers of help and support to you. And their ability to be generous with their thoughts, their ideas, maybe with resources that they have that they can share with you, there's responding to a need that they recognized in you because you were doing your level best to be authentic and to speak with integrity and to move into a universe where, you know, there's no doubt and hesitancy about who and what you are and who and what you represent, right? When you people have that, they can trust that, they can believe in it, and then they can do what they need to do to be supportive, to get on board, to be a part of your success. But when you're not authentic, when you're trying to fake it in order to make it, what tends to happen is people don't know where they can really trust you. They don't know what is really truly you versus the fake you or the representative you, right, that you want to share and that you want people to see. You have to be very careful when you're working with others to let as much as your authentic light shine. And if that's the light that says, you know, I do things with excellence, if that's the light that says I do things with a level of character that's high, I believe in honor and valor and all those wonderful good virtues, that's what it is, then let it be. But if there's doubt and hesitation in certain things, in certain areas, also, you know, be honest with that too. Because when people see, again, your humanity, and there's no doubt in my mind that humanity is largely flawed, you know, and that the more we look at each other and find the goodness within each other, the more we can help each other mitigate the risk associated with those flaws that we naturally will do. And we'll talk a little bit about that in just a second. But think about that. Those are the four key areas and aspects of life. And if you approach them well, if you do them well, if you think about them from a position of developing strength, developing fortitude, developing resilience, developing power in these areas, I think you're going to do very, 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 very well. And I'm going to talk about a little bit about some of the things you can do that we already know about to improve in the critical areas that maybe we haven't thought of in the past. And so I can keep it personal. I'll deal with me. But for those of you who have any questions, if you put it in the chat, I'll go through and I'll tell you how you can deal with the certain areas that you might be deficient in. So there's 3 areas I told you earlier that I need some help with: nutrition, recovery, and movement. If I get the help with those things, if I work on those things, if I get the support I need, if I create the environment that I need to create, all right, all those things will improve drastically, and it will also lift up the areas where I'm also strong. But I could use the areas I'm strong to lift me up in those other areas. Let me give you an example. The area, like I said, I'm very strong in is in the mind areas and the spirit areas, right? And in the heart areas. Those are all kind of areas where I'm strong. But let's look at what I can do, what you can do, what anybody can do. If they're weak in those other 3 areas I told you about, movement, nutrition, and recovery, what can you do out of your strength area to improve your weak area? And then look at me. Okay, so recovery. What is recovery all about? Recovery is about rest. Recovery is about taking breaks. It's about rejuvenation. It's about allowing yourself the capacity to actually grow. People think of recovery sometimes as just, I'm taking a break. But no, you're not just taking a break. You're actually giving your mind, your neurological balance, a chance to reset and catch up to what just happened. And put in place the structures needed to make it easier for that to happen the next time you endeavor to push it, whatever that is you're trying to push, whether it's weight or strength or endurance or whatever you're doing. Your brain starts to build habits based on repetition. Like I said earlier, right? Practice, rehearsal. The more you do it, the stronger you become at it. There's a cliche there that I'm not going to use. So let's think about that. How can I use the areas that I'm strong to pull myself up in areas where I'm weak? I know that I have a purpose for my existence. I believe my purpose is to help other entrepreneurs and other business leaders to dig deep within themselves and find that extra gear to be more proactive and more productive, to create more value for themselves and the communities around them, and to do what they need to do at a very, very high level. I think that it's my calling to help them do that. I think it's my calling to support them in doing it. Not just be a cheerleader, but help them with strategy, and help them get the training and the practice they have to get to become strong in the areas where they need to become strong. And so for me, because that is my belief, I have to be strong. I have to be good, because I have to have authenticity. I have to walk it like I talk it. And so therefore, I've got to take seriously my ability to be physically and mentally strong. And that means, from a recovery point of view, I have to purposefully take breaks and reset. I have to purposefully, after working out, after a strenuous event, after doing something, I have to practice recovery. I have to reflect on what just happened, what I just did. Maybe take some notes. Maybe write down in my workout journal or whatever journal that I want to have what just happened and what I just experienced, and what I think I might be able to do to improve upon that for the next time out. Right? That's all recovery. I may be, sometimes people say, well, you can't really recover if you're thinking about the thing you just did or thinking the thing that just happened. I'm going to go, I'm not too sure about that. I think I want to put it down after I've thought about it, after I put it in my journal, after I have, exhausted myself of it in both physical and mental ways, then I want to put it down and I give it the time and effort it needs so I can do my own personal after action review, right? After workout or after something strenuous, right? And then I can put it away and divert my attention to something completely different or go to sleep. And I need to sleep regularly, right? I need to sleep for certain periods of hours on a day. Now, a lot of people need 8 to 10 hours of sleep. That's what the suggestion is for the average person. You need 8 to 10 hours sleep. I personally, and I know this is different, so some people don't need that much sleep. I do really well on maybe 4, sometimes 3 hours of sleep, and I can go all day. As long as I do the right activities throughout that day, I'm not going to be tired. In fact, I'm going to feel refreshed. Right about now is when I start kicking in and start to, it's about getting to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. When people get getting tired, I'm getting energized. And I will be that way probably till about 10 o'clock tonight. And it doesn't matter. If I eat well in the morning, I'm feel that burst of energy. If I eat poorly, I'm still going to feel that burst of energy. If I don't work out, I'm going to feel that burst of energy. It's like a natural rhythm for me. Is that I wake up at night. I'm one of those people that I'm like a wolf, right? I did a personality study once before, and they said like you're like a wolf, like you wake up at night and you're strongest at night and you do best at night, and that's me. Sometimes I'm up writing and thinking at my best 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. When I go to sleep, I get up at 4:30 and I keep doing it. I do it all over again, right? Now, I know that if I work out consistently and regularly, I'm going to sleep better. I might even sleep longer. I might even get more REM sleep, right? Which is another area of recovery that I got to work on. But how am I going to do it? I'm going to pray. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pray before I work out. I'm going to pray after I work out. I'm going to reflect. I'm going to spend that time with that emotional connection to my workout. And then I'm going to write it down. And I'm going to keep a workout journal. And I know if I do that, I'm going to be forced to examine, what did I eat today? And how am I eating today? I'm going to journal about all that stuff so I can remember to do it well. Because it's important. If you do it well, then you can get the resilience that you're looking for in those areas. And I need to be strong in those areas because strengthening my physical body will also strengthen my effectiveness and efficiency, right? So I'm gonna do better because I'm gonna be stronger. I'm gonna do better because I'm gonna have more clarity. I'm gonna do better because, I will know that I'm doing the thing that I should be doing. That I will be authentic about that. I won't be outside of integrity, telling you should do it, and I'm not doing it, right? So that's very, very important. And movement. If I don't get up in the morning and plan that workout before everybody else gets up and starts moving around and asking stuff of me, then I might not work out. So it's imperative that I get up and I just get it done. First thing on my list, knock it out. Then I can go back and brush my teeth and have, lunch or breakfast or whatever that is, and meditate and pray and all that kind of stuff. I can do that. That's probably what I'm going to do. But I know I have to do that stuff, and I know the benefits are going to be amazing because I'm already good in the other areas. And if I work on it, then I'm going to get better at that area as well. But I'll use where I'm strong to bolster myself where I'm weak. So instead of just jumping in, I'm saying I'm going to work out, I develop a purpose around it. Why am I working out? I'm working out because I need to be stronger for my people. I need to be more authentic. I need to be more genuine in how I produce whatever I produce, right? I need to be, and how am I going to use generosity? I'm going to share it with people. I'm not just going to work out for myself. I'm going to share it with other people. I'm going to share what I'm doing, how I'm growing, and how things are happening. Right? I'm going to use my continuous commitment to share and to be there for other people. And I'll figure out a way, probably start to record stuff and, sort of like do a video journal of my workouts. That might be pretty cool. Anybody wants to join me in that, let me know. And then, of course, being really present, right? I'm good at that. I'm good at really looking at the environment that I'm in, the moment I'm in, and staying in that moment and really, really feeling that moment. Now, when people work out, the last thing they want to do is they want to feel the moment. They want to be distracted from the pain, right? So I'll use music and stuff like that for that particular distraction. But more importantly, I want to make sure I get my reps in. I want to make sure, I do the time that I'm supposed to do, and the intensity that I need to do to push myself to. But I don't want, if I never measure it, if I never pay attention to it, I won't know that I'm growing. I won't know that I'm doing enough, because like when you work out, you have to put stress in front of it. If you're not stressing it out just a little bit, I mean, you don't want to break anything, but you got to put some pressure on yourself. If it's easy, if it's not, you're not even breaking a sweat, then you're probably not going to get as much benefit than if you push it, right? I know this as a racquetball trainer, as a coach, as an athlete myself. I understand that it's very important. If you want to grow, you got to put the stress on, right? And so I have to be present in order to understand it. I got to be present, and I'm good at that. I'm good in those areas, right? So I can use my spiritual strengths to work on any of these other areas I need to work on. But what I need to work on most is the body. And so I'll do it. I'll use all my spiritual gifts to help me with my physical issues or opportunities, I should say. And I think those are things that you can do too. Looking at where you are, and there's not many of you on the call today, which is strange and different, but obviously I didn't put a lot of marketing in front of today's presentation, so it's okay. A lot of people are going to watch it later on. A lot of people are gonna follow up with it and stuff like that. But just even if you're watching a recording of this, act like you're watching it in real time. And go ahead and communicate in the chat. Go ahead and share your thoughts and ideas, because this is the community that we're going to create over all the videos and all the different things. It's very, very important that you do so. Also, by the way, if you want to get my research report when it's all said and done, hit me up and shoot me a text message. Again, my number's across the screen. Give me send me an instant message on LinkedIn or on Facebook, or even in the chat if it's something that you want. If you want me to send you the final training report when I finish it all out, I'll be more than happy to do that. I can't tell you when I'm going to get it all done, because I got some other things. And by the way, if there's a topic that you really, really, really want to engage in for this year, do me a favor, because this week I'm going to put together at least the editorial agenda for the next quarter, of how I'm going to do these and what I'm going to roll out and what I'm going to do next and all that kind of good stuff. And I'll try to keep you posted on what's happening with the Small Business Administration and the new leaders that are going to be doing it, and the new things they might be bringing out, especially in those things that are connected to the COVID-19 situation. But we're talking about resilience today. We're talking about what you need to do to become more resilient, to do things that are at a higher level. And I want to share a couple of quotes with you that just rang with a lot of significance to me. By the way, I don't know how many of you all saw the young lady who did the poem for the inaugural address. Oh, she was just amazing. I'm just so proud of her. I have no reason to be proud of her. She's not a child of mine, but I feel that strong connection to her, and I'm so happy she's able to do this. So let me share with you my absolute all-time, and I'm not the only one, favorite quote on Fortitude. This is it. This is when you look at all the quotes about Fortitude, this one comes to the top of the ranking usually. This was from Maya Angelou. And I've heard her share this so many times in so many different ways. I'm so blessed to have lived and have been on the planet at the same time she's been on the planet, because here's what Maya has to say about fortitude. She says, courage is the most important of all virtues, because without courage, you can't practice any other virtue consistently. Courage is the most important of all virtues, because without courage, you cannot practice any other virtue consistently. I love that thought process, because that thought process reminds us that, you just can't become a person of fortitude. You're not just born this way. You have to work on it. You have to work on it because you have to work on all of the cardinal virtues. We're going to go through them in a little bit, so that you understand what it means to be a person that practices what they preach, that says what they say they want, that says and does what they should say and do, represents themselves in that way. The next quote I want to read for you comes from Nikki Rowe. Now, I have to say I don't know this author, and I haven't had a chance to read or hear anything she's done before. But when I read this quote, I just immediately fell in love with it. I hope you're going to get it as well as I do. And we'll talk a little bit more about it in a couple seconds. Nikki Rowe wrote, "Be a woman of confidence, not cockiness. Know your boundaries, set no limits. Speak your kindness and turn your back to conformed groups. The only way to be a woman of change in this world is to walk what you talk and set your own soul free first." Love it, love it, love it. If I could, I would make my daughter memorize this poem, because I think it really just says it all. It says it all. It's important that you're confident but not cocky. It's important that you set boundaries for yourself, goals for yourself, but not limits. It's important that you not only just are you being kind, but you speak in the words of love and compassion with others, and that you don't involve yourself with groups that refuse to grow, groups that refuse to share, groups that refuse to be open and diverse and equitable. Don't waste your time with those people, right? And the only way to be a woman of change in the world is to walk what you talk and set your own soul free first. Acknowledging that we all have spirit, we all have something of the universe that belongs uniquely to us that we should project into the world. We're all here for a purpose. We're all here for a reason that may even pre-existed us. And our commitment to ourselves should be to find that purpose, find that soul, find that spirit, find that reason, and then set it free. And once we set it free, we can be our authentic selves, and we can do the things we need to do to move things forward. I love those two quotes. And now there's a lot more in my research that I came up with. I hope you guys are excited about getting your hands on it. But when I read Maya Angelou's quote, it immediately took me to this thought about something else that I read in the Bible. And this was from the first chapter of John. First chapter of John 1 John, chapter 5, verse 19. It says, "We know that we are from God, and the whole world lies in the power of the evil one." And, as I began to assess what Maya Angelou was saying in what this text saying to me, really, is that, humans, by our very nature, are held to a higher standard than other mammals. We need each other, but that social need we have is not as instinctual as it could be if we practiced needing each other, and practiced openness, and practiced a oneness, and tried to figure out a way to unify in our common areas. I think that human beings are literally at war with themselves. There's a dual nature of the character of man. In fact, the easy part of our characters is the stuff that gets us in trouble, right? It's the 7 deadly sins, which are pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, anger, and sloth. All of those negative emotions or negative feelings or negative spirit or sins, right, are things that pull us into further chaos. It pull us into areas where we're going to have more division, more stress, more pain, more suffering, more anger. And the thing is, these things happen quite naturally. We don't plan to be prideful. No one says, "I'm going to be an egotist," right? No one says that, right? It just happens as a result of whatever's going on in your environment, socially, politically, whenever you're growing up, all of a sudden you find yourself full of pride and self-righteousness and what's the word I'm looking for? There's another word I'm looking for. You just think that you're the best and you're the only one. And it's very, very selfish. That's the word I'm looking for. That's what pride leads to, selfishness. And then there's greed. Greed quite naturally comes from a place of scarcity. When you don't know where your next meal is going to come from, when you don't know how you're going to keep what you believe you've earned, how you're going to, or what you've entitled to, right? Greed makes you want to hold on instead of letting go, instead of letting resources back into the universe and to maybe use them to create something else, something better that helps everyone. When you hoard and you covet people and thoughts and ideas, then you don't share them with the world. It's impossible to be greedy and generous simultaneously. And greed leads to hoarding. It leads to, worry and stress about who's going to take my stuff, who's going to invade my privacy, who's going to look at me, who might possibly, or what could happen to my stuff. And I will promise you, there's a reason why it's called one of the 7 deadly sins, because it leads us to a place where we don't share. It leads us to a place where we don't care. We don't honor each other. We have to create laws to protect ourselves from each other. Wouldn't it be nice if we didn't have to? But we do. It's the nature of man. We want somebody else's stuff. Sometimes, we want to take ownership for something we don't own. We can't own something that's not ours to own. Something that we didn't create, something we didn't bring to the table. We can't even take responsibility. We can take responsibility for it, but we can't claim it, really. I learned this in property class when we first started about states' rights and learning about how every state has eminent domain over the property of the state. I thought about that. I'm like, wait, time out. What does that mean? It means we don't really own anything. The states, by definition of the law, own everything within the state. And that means somebody else is taking responsibility for our property. And the things that you say you own or you believe you own, you don't really own it. You own the rights to them temporarily. Your right to enjoy it temporarily until the state no longer wants you to enjoy it, and then they can call it back from you. So it's very important that you look at these 7 deadly sins, because the opposites. Then this is where we get down to Maya Angelou's virtue comments. The opposites. In order to really, really practice the corresponding cardinal values that relate to the 7 deadly sins, the cardinal values are humility, number 1, charity, chastity, gratitude, temperance, patience, and diligence. Let me read that list to you one more time. Humility, charity, chastity, gratitude, temperance, patience, and diligence. If you understand these cardinal virtues, right, and you understand what Maya Angelou was trying to say, it's impossible to practice these cardinal virtues if you don't practice the virtue of courage, right? You cannot be humble and not be courageous. You cannot be charitable and not be courageous. You cannot be chaste and not be courageous. You cannot have gratitude and not be courageous. You can't be temperate and not be courageous. You can't be patient. You can't be diligent and not be courageous. You have to be courageous, because courage opens the door for all these other virtues that you need to have in order to claim your resilience and your fortitudeness and your ability to be strong in character and in mind. You need these virtues. These virtues will challenge you. Now, by the way, these virtues, these cardinal virtues, are all interrelated, just like everything we've already talked about, and they support further character development. They support further opportunities for you to grow and for us to collectively grow. And the more you embrace these virtues, the more you come up with things that you can do to strengthen them, right? The more you think about it. And I came up with a couple thoughts, and I'm going to share with you really quick. And then I'm going to open up for any questions that any of you all might have. If you don't have any, we're going to close it out. But let's take the virtue of humility. You strengthen your humility by putting others first. Every time you get a chance. Even if you did something that you think is Herculean, that's amazing, that's wonderful, see what you can do to honor the people that supported you along the way. Try to make sure that you always are prepared to share the credit, the acclaim, the rewards, everything you can possibly share. Do it, and do it out loud, and do it proud. Practice this. Practice this in the small things. Practice this in the ways that you're gratitude. Like, find something that you're thankful for that you could not have overcome or could not have done, and say thank you to somebody, really, publicly. Try to figure out ways to share that credit. Be humble. Don't hog the spotlight. Don't be the person that wants to even be in the limelight. If you start thinking, and this is the thing I thought about a couple weeks ago, and I shared with you, some of you all who are listening. If you stop thinking about I and start thinking about we in everything you do, in fact, stop speaking using the term I. Always speak with the term we. And I guarantee you, you're going to immediately become more humble in yourself. And people are going to recognize you for recognizing them. And the law of reciprocity is going to kick in. People are going to go, oh no, yes, we helped you out, but you really did it, and you really gave it to, and they're going to give you those same accolades, which is going to bring meaning and significance and more direction in that regard to you in your life. Because when people share how you've been meaningful to them, how you've been significant to them, then you know you've actually done something wonderful, something good. But it's not until somebody gives you that feedback, right? You didn't win the award because you were a slacker. You won the award because you legitimately earned the opportunity to get the award. But you didn't do it by yourself if you're honest with yourself. That's what humility is being honest with yourself to know that none of us actually do anything of any level of significance alone. In fact, we don't probably do anything alone. Think about that. Number 2, charity. How do you become more charitable? Start to share everything you can share. Share information, share resources within reason. Use discernment to determine who and how and what to share. But I would challenge you, try to share people who don't look like you, who don't think like you, who don't walk like you, who don't come from your same neighborhood or your same area or whatever that is, your same growth. Get outside the box a little bit, because you'll find that people receive things differently in different cultures from different backgrounds that might challenge and help you grow about how you share and what you share and with whom you share. And again, through the challenge and the practice of doing something, you become stronger in it. You become a more charitable person. You become kinder. You become more tolerant, right? You're less likely to judge when you adequately and carefully, consistently share what you have. Share your information, share your resources, especially stuff that you know that you can replenish fairly quickly. No reason for you to hold on to it. Release it back into the universe. Let it bless somebody who is of need. That's going to help you a lot, because again, back to meaning and significance. You will know that you're being meaningful, that you're doing something significant, because it's something that you value that you share with somebody else. chances are they'll value it, not because you value it, but because it's valuable. It's very, very important. Gratitude. Oh, I'm just going with chastity, number 3. Chastity is a tricky thing in today's world. We don't value ourselves and our bodies in the way we probably should anymore. And I'm just going to speak to that right up front. When you value pleasure over anything else, that can easily become an addiction. People who are sex addicts understand exactly what I'm talking about. When it becomes the thing that you can't think about anymore, when you objectify everybody, then you're allowing the nature of lust to control you. It's almost a way of worshiping lust, and it's bad for you because it leads to a whole host of other problems. You know, especially when people are feeling like, well, this partner is my partner, and you're lusting after my partner. Or when people feel like, well, I don't want that kind of attention from you, but you're going to give it to me anyway because you're objectifying me. When you don't have control over that thing, and you let it go in inappropriate ways, it causes tremendous trauma and damage to other people. More so than you probably want to recognize, because you don't want to feel like you're causing that kind of trauma. But I think it's something that we have to all practice keeping it in check, because it's easy to find ourselves going for gratification more than anything else. And when we do that, we lose control of ourselves. We become undisciplined in our character. And that's just my thoughts on it. You can share whatever thoughts you have on it. I really appreciate your thoughts and your feedback. But I think chastity is important. It's important to do whatever you do within the bounds of certainly legality, but also morality. And I think that you need to think about that. What's the moral thing in your area, in your world? Because if you're spreading disease and illness, or you're causing emotional harm or damage with your lust, I think you got to rethink that. Because you can replace, by the way, that with some other practice of the cardinal, other virtues, right? You can practice gratitude instead of lust. Maybe you can look, but don't touch. Now I got to tell you, looking can become a problem too. But there's nothing wrong with appreciation, authentic appreciation for who someone is and what they bring to the table, not just what they can do for you. That's different, right? So just think about that. What are you grateful for? It's okay to be grateful. It's okay to be thankful that somebody's in your life, or somebody is a part of, or even them. But that's not lust. That's different. That's just gratitude. And if you don't know the subtle differences, give me a call and we'll talk about it. Okay. Temperance is literally practicing abstinence from any strong drugs or drink, right? Something that's going to, again, take you out of control of yourself and begin to be so wonderful to you that you lose yourself in it. You lose sight of the greater good. You lose sight of your purpose and how you can contribute meaningfully to our society and the forefront of human history. So I think that when you're not temperate, it becomes a problem. So how do you do? You practice another virtue. You may practice charity. You may practice, diligence. You may practice some other virtue that helps you support your practice of temperance. When you feel the urge, the need to go have a drink, or to go even do something gluttonous, right? Like have some food that you're not supposed to have, that you know you shouldn't have. Have something healthy instead. You know, you might not necessarily get rid of the urge to have something bad for you, but you will support it with something good for you, and you could feel good about that. I didn't have the unhealthy snack. I'll reach for the carrots and the celery instead of the ice cream. Give it a shot. Trust me, if it becomes a habit, you'll be healthier and you'll be happier. Patience. This one's my favorite. This one's my favorite because it requires so much of you to be patient. To practice patience, you have to be able to practice acceptance of the facts and the people that are set before you. You become impatient when you want people to change. You become frustrated when people don't meet your expectations. So try to have realistic expectations based on what you know about them, based on what is true about them, based on who they are. And you won't have to worry about being impatient anymore because you'll be able to, and if you can find out, accept the truth that people share with you. Whether they share it with you verbally or non-verbally, whether they share it with you under an interview or an investigation or an interrogation, right? However they share it with you, accept it as truth. Because now you don't have to be impatient. You won't have to set a bad expectation of what's possible for them, because the truth will be there. What's possible for them is there. And then you set an expectation that's just high enough to get them to whatever the next level is. If you set an expectation that's too high, then you're going to be devastated again. You're going to be disappointed. You're going to be impatient, and you're going to be like, well, I don't know why this is happening, blah, blah, blah. You don't want that. So try to do what you can to understand, know, and accept the truth around you when it comes to other people, and you'll be more patient. I promise you. Try not to make judgments without a proper investigation and analysis of the situation. It's usually a misjudgment that throws you into a level of impatience. And last but not least, there's diligence. That ability to just stick to it. That ability to just keep on going. When you're a diligent person, you have to be careful as well as persistent in your efforts. It's easy to be diligent about the things you care about. It's easy to be diligent about the things that you committed to. It's easy to be diligent about the things that you're invested in and you're all the way engaged. So practice those things. Whenever you're doing something, practice being all the way in. Practice engaging. Practice making an investment to try to make whatever it is you're doing even better because you are there. Try to contribute something significant to the discussion, to the class, to the work environment. That's more than above what is expected from your job description. Do more than the minimum. You'll find that if you can do this persistently, you will be considered a person of diligence, a person of great character. You'll be the kind of person that people call on because what you bring to the table is enrichment, is a furtherance of the idea, the concept. But you can't be diligent if you're not going to be careful, if you're not going to be persistent. And so that's what you practice. You do this, you're going to grow in social intelligence. You're going to grow in learning what you can expect from others and what you can expect from yourself. You're going to grow in your ability to say, I'm going to do this, and know that you're going to do this, which means you don't just have integrity. You are trustworthy. Walk it like you talk it, and definitely talk it. Because if you don't speak it, and this is the last point I'm going to make, and then I'm going to close it down for today. A lot of times people will tell you, fake it till you make it. I'm never going to agree with that process. I'm never going to agree with that process, but I'm always going to agree with the process that says, say it and then do it. Here's why. We have, and especially in certain pockets of our country and our nation, been guilty of trying to perform our way into success. And there are people there that are magical performers that are still not successful. Why is that? Because nobody who needs to know they are a high performer, they're gifted, or they're brilliant knows. And so to that point, if you have gifts that you're not sharing in both word and deed, I guarantee you're missing opportunities for people to jump on board, to help you, support you, provide for you, do whatever needs to happen to help move you forward. If you keep your light under the bushel, I heard this is a great Jesse Jackson sermon or speech many years ago. If you keep your light under the bushel, it's very hard for people to see their way. But if you let your light shine, it becomes very easy for people to go, this is the person I want to play with. This is the person I want to get on board with. This is the person I want to be with. That's the end of our discussion for today. I hope you got something from it. I know I did. If you all need access to any of the information that I share with you, you want to look at it further, do me a favor, give me a holler, look me up, hit me in this chat box. I promise I will respond. God bless you, and hope you have a happy and wonderful 2021.